It feels like we're standing at one of those crossroads moments. Not panic, not rebuild, but that uncomfortable space where you know the next few moves could define whether we're just really good again or finally break through. And what's crazy is, two completely different situations just popped up that might actually be connected to the same bigger question about this team's identity. On one side, there's a familiar name that could shake up the heart of our defense in a way nobody expected. On the other, there's a bold offensive move being floated that could completely change how teams defend us next season. Both situations involve big contracts, big personalities, big decisions, and both could tell us exactly how aggressive this front office plans to be right now. Because let's be honest, after how last season ended, standing still doesn't feel like an option. I'll break down both of these developments and what they really mean for Buffalo in just a second. But first, if you're a real Bills fan who lives and breathes this team year-round, hit that like button and subscribe to Bills Nation Update. This channel is brand new. We're pushing toward our first 2,000 subscribers, and if you care about honest, passionate Bills talk, you're in the right place. Now, let's talk about what just quietly changed everything. A former first-round pick, a guy we all watched grow up in this defense, a player who was basically the centerpiece of the middle of our unit for years, is suddenly available for trade. Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds. The Chicago Bears have reportedly given him the green light to seek a trade, according to Brad Biggs from the Chicago Tribune. And the timing of this? It's not random. Let's look at where we are right now. Both Shaq Thompson and Matt Milano are set to hit free agency at 32 years old. We're also transitioning to a new 3-4 defensive scheme under Jim Leonhard. That changes the math at inside linebacker immediately. Now, linebacker isn't at the very top of our needs list like wide receiver or edge rusher. We all know that. But it's absolutely a position Brandon Beane has to address. And suddenly, a proven 8-year veteran who already knows this building is sitting there as an option. Edmonds signed a 4-year, $72 million deal with Chicago after leaving Buffalo in 2022. He's heading into the final year of that contract. There's no guaranteed money left. He's due $15 million in 2026. That's important. In 3 seasons with the Bears, he didn't fall off. Not even close. He had at least 110 tackles in all 3 seasons. He actually improved in coverage. 9 interceptions over those 3 years in Chicago. That's not a fluke. That's growth. Now here's where it gets interesting. We all remember what he was in Buffalo. Big, fast, classic cover 2 Mike linebacker. He thrived in Sean McDermott's scheme because it fit him perfectly. But since leaving, he's worked under 3 different defensive coordinators in Chicago. Most recently, Dennis Allen, who runs a multiple front 4-3 system. That matters. Because we're moving into a 3-4, and when you think about size and durability, Edmonds absolutely has the frame to handle inside linebacker responsibilities in a 3-4 alignment. When he was a free agent back in 2022, 3-4 teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested in him. So it's not like he's some rigid, scheme-limited player. He's turning 28 in May. That's not old. That's prime. Now, financially, here's the twist. Over the Cap values him at around $7.3 million per season as a free agent. That's a huge drop from the $18 million per year average he had in Chicago, which means his trade value might not be sky high, especially since there's no guaranteed money left on his deal. If you could trade for him and then restructure into something closer to that $7 to $8 million range annually, that's stability in the middle of the defense. And let's be honest, the free agent middle linebacker market right now, it's loaded with guys over 30 who are past their prime. Edmonds would instantly be one of the most reliable options available. But here's where the fan side of me kicks in. Do we really want to go backward? Or is this actually moving forward? Because familiarity is comfortable. And there's something about seeing number 49 back in blue and red that would feel right. But we can't make decisions off nostalgia. This has to be about fit, cost, and impact. If the price is right, I absolutely think Brandon Beane should at least entertain it. Bringing him back gives Jim Leonhard a legitimate presence in the middle of the defense while we transition schemes. But it's the key: price. Because if we're about to make another move, one that could completely change the offense, every dollar is going to matter. And that brings us to the second situation. Because while we're debating stability on defense, there's a potential swing for the fences move on offense that could cost serious draft capital and serious money. And if this front office decides to pull the trigger on that, it tells you exactly what they believe about this championship window. Now here's where things get explosive. Because while we're talking about reinforcing the middle of the defense, there's a completely different conversation happening about giving Josh Allen something he hasn't truly had in a while. A true, number one, go-to receiver. And this one would not be subtle. There are reports, including from Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox, that the Dallas Cowboys could entertain trade offers for George Pickens. Let that sink in for a second. George Pickens. We all saw what happened in that playoff loss to the Denver Broncos. We were right there. One more big play. One more contested catch. One receiver winning one-on-one in a critical moment. And maybe we're talking about an AFC Championship appearance instead of overtime heartbreak. That game exposed something. We have good receivers. We have effort guys. We have system guys. But we don't have that alpha target defensive sphere on every snap. Pickens just racked up 1,429 yards and 9 touchdowns this past season. He turns 25 on March 4th. He's entering his prime. And when you watch his tape, you see a guy who can win deep, win contested balls, stretch coverage, and tilt the field. Knox even pointed out something that's hard to ignore. No one we're likely to draft at number 26 is going to make the kind of immediate impact Pickens would. Yes, there are options in free agency like Alec Pierce. Yes, maybe a rookie like Denzel Boston or KC Conception slides to us. But those are projections. Pickens is production. Now here's the reality check. We are currently over the cap. And Pickens could command north of $30 million per year on a new deal. That is not small money. Brandon Beane would have to get creative, serious cap gymnastics. And that's before we even talk about trade compensation. Would Dallas accept a second-round pick for a Pro Bowl receiver entering his prime? Probably not. It would likely take our first-round pick. And that's a massive decision. But here's the question nobody wants to avoid. Would trading pick number 26 for Pickens help us more than drafting an unproven rookie? When you have an elite quarterback like Josh Allen in his prime, windows aren't infinite. We've been close. 2 straight years nearly reaching the AFC Championship game. This past one ended in overtime against Denver. We were 1 play away. And that's exactly why this conversation matters. Pickens would instantly be the most talented wide receiver Josh Allen has worked with. He would change how defenses play us. Safeties couldn't cheat. Corners couldn't sit on routes. The entire spacing of the offense shifts. But if you trade a first-rounder and hand out a $30 million plus per year extension, that affects everything else. Depth, future flexibility, defensive additions, even moves like potentially bringing back someone like Edmonds. This is the kind of move that screams, "We are all in, right now." And that's what makes these two stories connected. One is about stabilizing the defense with a reliable veteran presence at a potentially reasonable price. The other is about making a championship-caliber splash that changes the identity of the offense, but at a heavy cost. Together, they reveal the real question facing this franchise. Are we tweaking, or are we swinging big? Because you probably can't fully do both. If you go aggressive on Pickens, you have to be smart and calculated everywhere else. If you prioritize defensive structure and financial flexibility, maybe you lean toward a more measured approach at receiver. Either way, this offseason isn't quiet. It's decisive. And personally, I think we're at that point where playing it safe feels more dangerous than taking a calculated risk. If we truly believe Josh Allen is the guy to bring us a Lombardi, and we all do, then the front office has to decide how bold they're willing to be while he's in his prime. So, here's where I land. Bringing back Tremaine Edmonds, if the price is right, feels like a smart, stabilizing move that supports the transition to the new 3-4 defense. Trading for George Pickens feels like a statement, a declaration that we're done being close. And when you put both together, it tells you this. This isn't a rebuilding year. This is a defining year. Bills Mafia, this is where championships are either built or missed. Now I want to hear from you. Would you trade the first-round pick for Pickens? Would you bring Edmonds back? Would you try to do both and push the cap to the edge? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate this like real fans. And if you're rocking with honest, passionate Bills talk like this, hit the like button and subscribe to Bills Nation Update. We're a new channel. We're chasing that first 2,000 subscriber milestone, and this is just the beginning. If you love this team like I do, you're home here. Go Bills!